Lewis Capaldi's on this morning at 10 and getting us ready for the weekend. It's The Loose Women at 12:30. Now, the latest ITV News. It's Wales at 6 with Jonathan Hill.
On Thursday's Wales at 6, thousands of new jobs are promised as 2 new Freeports are given the green light. We unpack what they are and what it means for communities across the country. Plus, the moment justice finally catches up with a rapist after more than 40 years. We'll hear from the victim and the detective who helped bring the attacker before the courts.
I just think it's absolutely incredible. No, this is something that happened before I was even born.
In it for the long haul, 10 years on from Welsh Government's takeover, is Cardiff Airport still flying high?
And getting ready for the first evening back. We're in Abergavenny as the night market prepares to return.
Hello, good evening. Tens of thousands of jobs and billions of pounds have been promised to Wales with the announcement of 2 new Freeports. Holyhead on Anglesey will be the location for one, whilst the other will cover Milford Haven and Port Talbot in the south. It'll mean those ports will become the centre of a special economic zone with different tax and customs rules designed to act as incentives for investment and trade. So what will it mean for the communities in those areas? Well, in a moment, we'll be heading to Port Talbot to speak to Rob Osborne. But first to Holyhead, where the Prime Minister and the First Minister met to discuss Wales Freeports and where Joanne Gallagher has spent the day. Joanne, this is a big moment for Anglesey then.
It really is, John. It may be windy on the island this evening, but this morning there was a rainbow on the horizon as the island breathed a sigh of relief. This is an island that has felt overlooked. This is an island that has said it's felt unheard. Well, it's been heard today with the announcement that this 213-acre site, some of which you can see behind me, will be redeveloped into this free port. People here told me that they worried about their youngsters. They worried that they wouldn't find well-paid jobs here on Anglesey and they would have to leave to find work elsewhere. They're now hopeful that this announcement today may give them more opportunities. Let's find out how the day panned out. Welcome to Anglesey's Freeport, based around Holyhead. Up to £26 million will be spent here by the UK government. And you know a decision's big when you get the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and the Welsh First Minister Mark Drakeford not just on the same island, but 2 big players next to each other.
I'm delighted to be here in Wales to announce the creation of not 1 but 2 Freeports, one here in North Wales, another one in South Wales. And what that's going to mean is jobs, in a word. Lots of investment, billions of pounds of investment, tens of thousands of jobs created across Wales. And it's a great example of the UK government and the Welsh government working together.
Mark Drakeford says it's the boost Ynys needs.
The investment in the port is not just an investment in the port. It's an investment in that new industry that will provide opportunities for young people, a new economic engine for the island. I think we really can look forward with huge optimism to what the future can hold for Wales.
But lots of people are confused by a free port. So what is it?
Well, it's a place where in terms of tolls, advantages in terms of taxes, and as a result, crowd in investment to make a success of this part of Wales.
Shipping company Stena Line's behind the plan with Anglesey County Council. They want to claw back business and money lost since Brexit. Can it be done?
I'm super confident. We've had 42 businesses already, international businesses, pledging their support in the initial stakeholder process. So those businesses now we can talk to, we can see what their business plans are and actually attract them to the island of Anglesey.
Now, it's said 13,000 jobs could be created. Much needed, says the island's council leader, but she's cautious.
It's a good sign, but also we need to manage expectations. This is going to take a few years to kick off, to see those jobs, to see that investment happening here on the island. I want to be honest with the people of Ynysmon. It's not going to happen overnight, but it means that we are a step closer to see the island that we want to see.
Now, politicians and business leaders today have said this is really good news for the island. But what about for future generations? It's those youngsters coming through who are looking now for well-paid jobs and a secure future so they can remain living here.
I've considered moving out, but with the new Freeport now, I think it's going to be amazing for me, myself, to maybe even start a business on the island.
There isn't a lot of things like this happening around the island, but with this big announcement, it brings a lot of jobs and it brings a lot of opportunity for people to stay around here and work from here, which wasn't previously possible.
It's hoped there'll be spades in the ground soon. Now, there's no doubt this is welcome news here today, but it doesn't mean that all the problems are solved here on Anglesey. Only next week, the Two Sisters site, not too far from where we're standing here in Llangefni, will close. That will see the loss of 700 jobs. So where do people go for employment in the future? Well, the Freeport won't be up and running in time to save them. Also, it raises questions around that third bridge that they want across the Menai Straits to try and increase the transport links. Pressure will continue to get that done.
OK, Joanne Gallagher, thank you very much indeed. Well, as we heard earlier, parts of South and West Wales are also set to benefit, with the Celtic Freeport based around the ports in Milford Haven and Port Talbot. The plans there focus on attracting investment to green technology, a move that's been welcomed by steelworkers. Well, Rob Osborne is there for us now. Rob, this has been called a game changer for the area.
Yeah, a once-in-a-generation event, John. Big news in this part of the world. Let's speak to Andrew now from the Associated British Ports. Andrew, we heard from Joe up in North Wales at Holyhead a minute ago. Now, we're all getting grips now with what a Freeport is. Are you now going to be in competition with each other?
No, I think the great thing is that obviously North Wales and where we are in South West Wales, there's enough opportunity for both Freeports. And here in the South West, we'll largely be concentrating on the energy transition, floating offshore wind manufacturing here in Port Talbot, because Holyhead is the centre of the Irish trade between Wales and Ireland, and lots of opportunities around that trade corridor, as well as some of the offshore wind as well. So now I think we'll complement each other. It should be a really great thing to have two Freeports and not just one.
OK, if you're sat in Sandfields now, which is near us, or down in my Stig, or maybe over in Swansea, and you're listening about all this new investment, all these new jobs, what practical difference will it make to your life having a Freeport here?
I think it's not just about the Freeport. The Freeport is an enabler, but our vision is to be the manufacturing centre for Wales and for the UK and this part of North Europe for the new floating offshore wind platforms. We see a lot of wind turbines around Wales, but these will be based at sea. They'll be on big platforms. They'll be taller than the Meridian Tower in Swansea.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because the Meridian Tower, for people who know it in Swansea, it's one of, if not the tallest building in Wales. And behind us here, it's going to look different very shortly.
Yeah, we would expect. We've got planning consents, marine consents. We've got a lot of consenting work to do. But then as Associated British Ports, we'll be investing £500 million to develop the construction facilities, and we'd see that happening within 3 to 4 years.
So that quickly?
Yes, and the industry itself is licensing this year with the Crown Estate, with the seabed, and the developers are all looking at how they will take their developments forward, and we want them to do that in Port Talbot and in Milford Haven, our partners.
Andrew, thanks for joining us. Well, we're all getting to grips with these new ideas of Freeports, aren't we, John? But they are going to transform communities across Wales, and places like here will be transformed in the next couple of years.
I guess we'll be talking about them much more over the coming months and years. Rob, thanks very much indeed. Well, a third bid for a Freeport in South Wales was unsuccessful. It had been hoped that Cardiff Airport could have been included in it to boost investment, making it less reliant on Welsh Government backing. So today's news marks another setback, although there was a glimmer of hope with the announcement of a new route to Paris. In tonight's Wales This Week, Andrea looks at what the government-owned site has achieved in the last decade and what the future holds.
In March 2013, the Welsh Government spent £52 million of taxpayers' money buying Cardiff Airport from Spanish owners Abertis. At the time, it sparked a furious debate among politicians. The following year saw the start of renovations, signifying a new beginning for the airport now in public hands.
We make it look loved, in a way that it wasn't for such a long time. It just looked run down, and it makes a big difference in terms of people's perceptions.
Over the last 10 years, payments from the public purse total some £225 million to keep the airport propped up. We asked the Welsh Government if, in hindsight, it had been value for money.
Well, I think the fundamental question we all need to ask ourselves is, do we think Wales should have an airport? If we do think that, then we need to confront the fact that the private sector doesn't want to run it. Airports around the world are loss-making. It's a very odd business. Had we not stepped in, the airport would have closed and Wales would be without an airport. Now, we think as a government, for the benefit of the economy and for people travelling, we should have an airport in Wales. And if that's the case, the government needs to support it.
Are you saying that Cardiff Airport is not designed to be a commercial enterprise, and the ultimate aim is not for it to make profits from the Welsh Government's point of view, from the shareholders' point of view? You're happy if it doesn't make a profit?
Well, we don't want it to be an ongoing loss maker, and we have a rescue and recovery package which has a pathway back to breaking even, and it was well on the way to that before the pandemic. So we were recovering. COVID has knocked that sideways, so the recovery will take longer than it would have otherwise.
After 10 years of public ownership, Cardiff Airport is at a crossroads. Its future rests on attracting more passengers, more airlines, more routes, at a time when environmental pressures are sky high. This site is more than just a centre of aviation. It's become a symbol of a confident nation that has its own international airport. The challenge for the business is keeping the planes in the air during turbulent times.
And you can see more on the airport and its 10 years of government ownership on Wales This Week this evening, and that's at 8:30. The number of cancer patients starting treatment on time is the lowest on record, Welsh Government figures have revealed. In January, just half of patients started treatment within the target time of 62 days. The Welsh Government says it's investing heavily in improving early detection and providing rapid access to treatment. Cwm Taf Morgannwg University Health Board had the worst cancer treatment waiting times.
We are bringing more capacity in, so our mobile capacity, so where we can get people treated more quickly. We're outsourcing to other providers, whether that's other NHS providers or private sector providers, to try and get things done more quickly. But we're also looking at how we redesign the pathway to be more efficient.
In the last hour, teachers have accepted a new pay offer from Welsh Government. 73% of NEU Cymru members voted in favour of the pay rise. They'll see a 3% payment this academic year and a 5% rise from September. It brings weeks of strike action to an end. The Education Minister, Jeremy Miles, said the result will give pupils and parents peace of mind, and the Welsh Government will continue discussions on workload-related issues. Well, it's been another drizzly day. Is there some sun on the horizon? I do hope so, Ruth.
A very distant horizon, I think it's safe to say, John, with hail and thunder on the menu for tomorrow. But before all of that, Megan, things are cooking up nicely out there in Abergavenny, despite the weather by the looks of it.
Yes, Ruth, you've worked some of your magic because the rain has gone, the food is on, and the flavours here, they smell amazing.
Before all that, if you're a fan of the ITV hit drama Unforgotten, then you'll be familiar with the work of cold case detectives who use modern-day methods to bring murderers and sex offenders to justice years after they committed their crimes. Well, a new series on ITV1 follows the work of a real-life unit at South Wales Police. And tonight, justice catches up with a rapist from Cardiff who escaped detection for more than 40 years. Mike Griffiths has the story.
This is the moment Roland Long had avoided for decades.
Mr. Long, you're under arrest on suspicion of rape.
Detectives were investigating the rape of a woman in Cardiff in 1980. Advances in forensic techniques meant the case had been reopened and linked Long to the attack.
I'll put that photo in front of you. Did you have sexual intercourse with that woman?
No comment.
Though Long refused to answer investigators, the questions piled up. His DNA had been found on the victim's clothes.
The victim said the male said to her, "Do as I say and you won't get hurt." Did you say that to the victim?
For his victim, a wait of 4 decades for justice.
If you can do it to one person, you can do it again. I was absolutely shocked when they told me that they'd found the man. I felt relieved, actually. But it's something I never thought would happen, you know, that he would be caught.
Detectives worked hard to build the case against Long. And only months before his trial was due to begin, Long changed his plea to guilty. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison.
Well, I'm delighted to say that Detective Constable Jenna Hargraves, who helped bring Roland Long to justice, joins me now. Roland Long is serving a long sentence. Some people might say, well, it was a long time ago. Why was it so important for you to bring him before the courts?
This case was a 40-year-old case, and it doesn't matter how long something happened. This man was a danger to the public. If he's done something like that previously, what's to say he couldn't do anything again in the future? And it's to get that closure again for the victim.
Now, of course, this happened before you were even born, incredibly, this attack. How shocked was Long when you turned up and knocked his door?
I think he was incredibly shocked. You know, to think 40 years down the line, DCs from South Wales Police are travelling to his address in Bristol to arrest him for that crime. He's been walking the street all these years thinking that he's got away with it. So he seemed incredibly shocked. And people will be getting the knock, presumably. Yeah, at the end of the day, it sends up that message that, always look over your shoulder. You think you've got away with something, but science and technology is forever changing. Investigations are changing. So, if you have committed one of these crimes, then, there's a time where we catch up with you. And the most important person here is the victim who lived with the horrors of that attack for more than 40 years. She spoke so bravely and with dignity in the film. You held her hand right the way through the court process. How difficult has it been for her? I can never put myself into her shoes. What she's been through has just been awful. Like I said, she's lived with it for the last 40 years. And then we've come knocking on her door saying that we found a suspect. We've brought all this back up for her. Not that she ever would have forgotten what happened, but she's had to relive that by, going through her account of what happened. And I just think she's been absolutely incredibly brave throughout it all. And you can understand perhaps sometimes the reluctance of women who may have experienced a sex attack to come forward. As a female detective, what would your message be to them? I would say step forward, come and speak to us, report the crime. It's an insidious crime that we take extremely seriously. In South Wales Police, we've got specific rape investigation teams with highly skilled officers with the right experience in order to deal with these crimes and bring offenders to justice and to be able to support these victims throughout the process as well. And what made you want to become a detective? Well, I joined South Wales Police really to help people and then moved on to become a detective. I just found the work incredibly interesting. And, you deal with more serious and complex crimes, and to get outcomes like this, the job satisfaction is unreal, and to know that I've helped this woman is just amazing. Jenna Hargreaves, thank you very much indeed. And you can see the final episode on ITV1 tonight, and all episodes of Cold Case Detectives are available to stream on ITVX. Sport now, and Johan Cunningham has named his side to take on Ireland in Cardiff this weekend in the first game of their Six Nations campaign. The team will be looking to build on their quarter-finals finish in World Cup last year.
It's a fresh start for us, after the World Cup. We came off the World Cup with a few injuries. Obviously, Shuan retired as well, so it's a great opportunity for us to look at some fresh faces, look at new combinations.
Now the time is 19 minutes past the hour. You're watching Wales at 6, still to come on the ITV Evening News.
Coming up in the programme tonight, another rise in interest rates to put a lid on rocketing prices. The Bank of England delivers its 11th hike in a row and another blow for borrowers after yesterday's jump in inflation. The plot to get a kidney, the Nigerian politician and his wife caught in an organ trafficking triangle. Last day too for the Prince of Wales in Poland as he pays tribute to fallen soldiers. And
we didn't mean to unleash the greatest evil the world has ever known.
From a board game to the big screen, get ready for Dungeons, Dragons and plenty of superstars. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Well, I hope you're hungry, because this evening marks the return of the Abergavenny Night Market. It's the first one back since the pandemic, and our reporter Megan Boots has got the plum job of the evening. Looks like you've got your supper sorted then, Megan.
It's not bad, John, it's not bad. As our tummies turn to tea time, there are worse places to be. As you say, this is the first night market back for Abergavenny since the pandemic. I'm going to let cameraman John show you some of the food that's on offer, because there's a huge array of flavours. We've got Italian, there's fancy coffees and drinks, there's food from Japan, cheesecakes. The list is kind of endless. Those are some of the things you can see. Imagine how good some of the smells are here. But what's more, there's a real buzz, a real excitement about the place for people coming here tonight. Take a look.
It's lovely to see Abergavenny buzzing again, and you know, it's lovely for independent businesses.
And it's good for the local producers and local craftspeople as well, which is very rich in this area.
We love the place, and we saw it advertised earlier, so we just thought we'd come up and see what selections are up here.
We come to this place all the time. We love Abergavenny a lot, and we just know it's on a Thursday night, don't we, dear? And we thought, why not?
Local actual foods markets as well, I think, are so important to the community. It brings all the community people into the area.
So as you can see, we've now come into the market hall, because there's stalls inside as well as out. And there have been quite a few differences in stall holders. This is the first one back. And one of the stall holders where this is their first time here is Michael. Michael, thank you for talking to us on Wales at 6. Why was it important for you to come here tonight?
Well, to carry on living my dream. And I had a restaurant before lockdown, and everyone said I should continue. So I've been invited here to give it a go. So let's see where it goes from here.
So street food for you is now the way you take your business forward?
Yeah, because you'd have to do any overheads. You just set up, pack up and go.
Brilliant. Michael, well, I'll let you get on with that. That looks great. It smells great too. And what's going on here, it's not just about the stall holders like Michael and the people visiting tonight. It goes beyond that. This is Councillor Catherine Fuchs from the County Council. This has got a wider impact.
Absolutely, yeah. No, the idea is to really bring the vibrancy back into our town centres post-COVID, and it's so important that we support our local traders and also our wonderful residents come in and enjoy their evening at the market.
Lovely. So a new chapter. Catherine, thank you very much. So the plan is for these markets, these nighttime markets, to continue in the months ahead. And frankly, it's time for me and cameraman John to go and get some dinner.
I wish we had smell-o-vision. Megan, thank you very much indeed. Well, Ruth is here with the forecast. I've been to the market in the daytime, but not at night. It looks a real foodie's paradise.
Isn't that amazing? And I tell you what, talk about tummy rumbling. It's that time of the evening, isn't it? Anyway, so I'll move on swiftly and talk about the weather, because...
How's it looking?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way of putting it. All very out there. We've had a bit of sunshine out there today, but we've also had some very, very wet weather as well. Now, the problem at the moment is that we have a very, very high spring tides, a bit of a fateful combination. That basically means very high waves, possibly overtopping walls. So be careful if you are heading to the coast, but also a few issues with some surface spray and localised flooding. If you are at all worried, here is the flood line number 0345 988 1188. You can say that number in my sleep. The Natural Resources Wales website's really good too. That's constantly updated. But as I said, there is an awful lot more wet weather in the forecast, so just be careful out there. And as well as wet weather, we've also got some very strong winds, but the winds are key because over the next few days it blows all this low pressure into the distance. High pressure starts to take charge, but if you can just see these arrows, they come northerly, and that means from the weekend onwards it's going to get cooler.
Transport for Wales. Proud sponsors of ITV Cymru Wales Weather.
Well, it's certainly been a blustery old day today, hasn't it? So over the next few hours, the winds will start to ease back. We'll still see some showers working their way in. Again, some of these could be on the sharp side, but I think it is going to be a largely improving picture by the second half of the night and really by the early hours of Friday morning. Many areas will be dry. We could see a few bits and pieces of cloud bubbling up from time to time, but it is thankfully going to be a frost-free night with temperatures hovering at around 5 or 6 degrees, so nothing to worry about here. And tomorrow, frankly, is something of a repeat process. More of the same. Again, it will turn breezy and we'll see further showers working their way in. Now, if you catch one of these, you'll probably know all about it. Heavy, possibly some rumbles of thunder, maybe even some hail thrown in for good measure. Rattling through quite quickly, but again, just be careful because I did mention we do have those high spring tides. So if you are heading to the coast, something to watch out for. The winds into the afternoon, again on the brisk side, gusting 20, even 30 miles an hour. But the temperatures are still mild, perhaps not quite as mild as they were out there today, but we're looking at 12 or 13, which is pretty respectable. And then as we head into the start of the weekend, it is going to be a little bit mixed. So we've got a frontal system that'll work its way across us through the course of Saturday, an occluded front, so temperatures should still remain on the mild side. But really it's into the second part of the weekend where things do change and the winds become more northerly. So things will largely settle down. So there'll be plenty of dry weather and some decent spells of sunshine, but you're certainly going to notice a chill in the air. And actually the difference is the temperatures are going to be more as they should be at this time of the year. So it's all going to be very, very average, but you can see a bit of a shock to the system with temperatures hovering around or just above the freezing mark. We could see the return of those overnight frosts.
Trafnidiaeth Cymru yn falch I noddi tywyd ITV Cymru Wales.
Not good news for the goldfish in the pond. I always worry about them this time of the year. When the temperatures start to drop again, just when they start to think it's spring and it's warming up.
Oh, something else to worry about now, yes. That's all we've got time for this evening. I'll be back with the late update. That's after the ITV News at 10. But from Ruth, me and all the team, thanks for watching tonight.